Starting lineups, the 7th different lineup to be used by Duke this year with the insertion of Matt Jones for the injured Emil Jefferson. Corey.
And Duke going smaller. It's going to be interesting to see the matchup. Florida State large up front, especially when you have Michael Ojo in your starting lineup. So we're going to see which style is able to win here tonight.
So Duke, who's won 12 of the last 13, but has lost 3 straight ACC road games if you go back into last year's calendar, including their opener at Virginia Tech about 9 days ago. Some of those will be in white. Duke wears the retro designed royal blue tonight.
I was about to say, those look like those Blue Devil uniforms that I used to play against way back in the day.
Now I think these might go a little further back than you. Giles and Ojo to get us started. Mike Roberts, Ted Valentine, Jeff Clark, the officials here tonight. And Xavier Rattan-Mays kisses the basketball and away we go. Duke man-to-man. Kennard on Terrence Mann. All the way through in the layup. Averaging almost 11 against the league, the sophomore from Lowell, Mass.
And Mann coming off a huge performance versus Virginia Tech, and you see the warm welcome here at the Donald L. Tucker Center that Grayson Allen receives when he has the basketball in his hand.
Giles against Ojo. Kennard slashes. Jones beats Bacon off the dribble and scores on the high lob shot over the top of Ojo.
And that's what the biggest area that Leonard Hamilton was concerned about with this Duke team, that they have so many players that can not only shoot but put the basketball on the floor and beat you to the rim as well.
XRM lines up Allen. Lob. Ojo. Junior from Ontario, Canada, beats the big man from Nigeria. Giles, a nice soft jump shot, Corey.
And that's the one area where Grayson Allen improves this Duke team so much by getting into the paint, and it's not always to score on his own, but to make plays for his teammates as well.
About 90 seconds old, and this thing's pretty fast. Jonathan Isaac missed the layup. Ojo up strong in the foul. Giles draws his first, number 1 on the Blue Devils.
And Michael Ojo doesn't even have to flex for us to know that he's strong. When we see Terrence Mann earlier in the game getting baseline, beating 2 defenders and scoring at the rim, and Ojo on the offensive rebound putback, he doesn't have to flex. You can look at him and see he's more than strong enough. He doesn't even have to show us with the flex.
Averaging 12 and a half minutes against the conference is Ojo, who's become a pretty good free throw shooter.
Absolutely, shooting 75% on the year, much improved from the line. And for a guy as physical as Ojo, he's going to get fouled. Always a luxury when your big guy can knock him down.
5 of the first 7 belong to Ojo. Knowles with a 3-point lead. Allen off the high screen from Giles. Kennard lost it. And last touch by the Blue Devils. It'll go to Florida State on the Duke turnover.
Florida State doing a great job closing out on the Duke shooters. Leonard Hamilton talked to us about that earlier today. If you close out wrong against these players, they will burn you, and they don't hesitate at all, whether shooting the 3 or driving it to the rim full speed.
Here is Bacon. Well, he hasn't had many touches here early.
He has not, but give Matt Jones a lot of credit, the best defender for this Duke team. But there's no defense for a guy that can raise up at 6'7" and knock down the 3 like Dwayne Bacon.
27th triple of the year for Dwayne Bacon. Allen fouled on his way to the basket. There'll be 2 shots coming for the junior from Jacksonville, Florida. The foul is on XRM. His first and first on the nose. Allen is the 8th best free throw shooter in the ACC. Duke is shooting almost 73% from the line in their first 3 league games.
And Leonard Hamilton not happy about the fact that Grayson Allen is actually shooting free throws. He didn't feel as though that was in the act of shooting. And of course, the crowd here gets a rise out of the fact that he missed the first one. And you're talking about one of the better free throw shooters, not just in the ACC, but in the country, Grayson Allen. And he's a guy that spends a lot of time at the free throw line because he's so aggressive attacking the rim.
10-5. Isaac. Chase Jeter's come on the floor, sophomore from Las Vegas, appearing for the first time in 3 games. Man. 12 to shoot for Rattan Mays. Crosses over Allen and draws the foul. On the deck, says Jeff Clark. So it will stay with the Seminoles. And an inbounds pass from the baseline.
That's one of the areas where Florida State has gotten so much better this year. They're not just a bunch of guys that shoot the basketball. Now you have a lot of playmakers that can put the ball on the floor and get to the rim, and you have to have that against Duke, especially when they play in the passing lane.
First foul on Allen, second on Duke. A 10-5 lead so far for Florida State. There's a hand check on Matt Jones, and that will be his first. And number 3 on Duke. Jones, the senior from DeSoto, Texas. Takes on more of a leadership role tonight, Corey, with Emil Jefferson, the first game he's out with the foot injury sustained Saturday against Boston College.
Absolutely, and a huge loss for Duke. And talking to Jeff Capel before the game, he made it clear he was the one guy that felt like it hurt most. Without him being able to play, the one guy they felt like they could ill afford to lose, but you do lose him for at least a temporary period of time. And this one almost brought down the house. XRM with the beautiful feed to Michael Ojo. Ojo unable to finish it, but this place would have erupted had that gone there.
Operation Ojo here early for the Seminoles, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's one of the areas where I'm sure Leonard Hamilton wants to exploit, because Duke is going to play smaller. They've got to be able to, get something going inside with Ojo when he has his opportunities.
Jeter, here's Jason Tatum. He'll drive against Ojo and draw the foul. First on Michael, the grad student at 24 years of age from Nigeria. And the second on Florida State. We'll send the outstanding freshman Tatum to the line. And Duke already 1 of 2 at the stripe. Tatum is an 86% free throw shooter who plays in his 9th game tonight. Corey's averaging almost 20 so far in conference play.
But that's his strength. He's a guy that gets to the free throw line a lot. If you watch him in high school and USA basketball, everywhere he's gone, he's been able to score. But you look at Emil Jefferson, this young man will be extremely missed by this Duke lineup. Hopefully we get an opportunity to see him back. Not only the averaging the double-double, but Jeff Capel told us it's more so about what he does as a leadership role that will be missed more than his numbers.
Florida State gets some depth on the floor. Jarquez Smith is out here for the first time. Phil Kofer as well handles the ball out front for the Seminoles. Here is Smith. And we'll get a foul on Chase Jeter. Jarquez Smith, 6'9", 236 from Paddock, Georgia. Chase Jeter, the sophomore from Vegas, his first and 4 now on Duke.
And that's one of the things you're going to have to keep an eye on this entire game. Foul trouble for Duke in the post. Giles already has one. Now Jeter has one. With no Jefferson, these guys have to play a little differently. They can't afford to get in foul trouble. Marquise Bolden probably will get some minutes tonight, and possibly Javin Laurier as well. But when you look up front, this front line for Duke, even though you have all those guys, is still thin compared to Florida State.
XRM from the front. And Smith kept it alive. Back for Rattan Mays. Now Smith launches. Tapped around and saved by Allen. Into the front court against Mann. Tatum launches for 3 and hits. Jason Tatum's 9th 3 of the year, and he's got 4 for Duke. Blue Devils to within 1.
He's a special talent, but you can't forget about Grayson Allen and the pressure he puts on the opposing team's defense just by his attempt to penetrate. The help alone got Tatum wide open.
Man fights back off the screen on the drive and will draw the foul. And Michael Ojo has got 5 early and in control at the post for the Noles.
So much attention to the ball screen, and you have to because they have so many players on the floor that can stretch the defense. If you get caught with your head in the wrong direction, you get burned. Dwayne Bacon cutting back door. A simple look for Bacon. Beautiful feed from Rattan Mays.
Oh, man. Some strong players on the floor, some strong players in the seats.
I tell you what, that guy there was pretty good. I have to give him his credit. Now, being that he's here at the game and he can't hear me talking, I'll say that. Now, I won't say it to him in person.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I'll give him pretty good. I just give him pretty good.
By the way, announced today that Grant Hill is the winner of the Gerald R. Ford Award from the NCAA. for his contributions to college athletics, Corey.
And well-deserved.
Yep.
I'm fortunate to be able to call him a friend of mine, and of course, a great guy. We go back to we were 11, 12 years old playing AAU together, and he's the same guy now as he was, 30-plus years ago before anybody really knew who he was.
Cornell's also part of the ownership group involved with the Atlanta Hawks, and there are plenty of folks from the professional basketball world here tonight watching this game.
And that's a scenario right there. Dwayne Bacon doesn't get on the floor. Matt Jones does. Florida State forces to come up with possession.
And a run out, Rattan Mays. Florida State by 4 and keeping the pressure on, Corey, at both ends.
And they're going to do that. The one thing that Jeff Capel was concerned about today was the transition defense for his Duke team, getting back and not allowing Florida State to get out in transition. But when we look at our 4 keys for the game, for Duke, it's about controlling their emotions. Their first true road game at Virginia Tech, they played without Grayson Allen, and his leadership was extremely missed. Having to do the same without Emil Jefferson today could be a challenge. And for Florida State, it's about defending dribble penetration, keeping Grayson Allen, Luke Kennard, and all these skilled perimeter players out of the lane for Duke.
Well, you see Allen takes a seat for the Blue Devils. Meanwhile, Florida State, another line change, so to speak. We get our first look at Trent Forrest, who's in the ball game. Also, Brian Angola Rodas, a junior from Columbia, has come into the ball game as Kennard fires for 3. First points for Luke Kennard.
He is a special offensive talent. And Trent Forrest, a great defender, but it doesn't take much for Luke Kennard. Just a simple jab step. All he needs is a little space to knock down the 3.
C.J. Walker, freshman from Indianapolis, also on the deck for Coach Hamilton's team. Tatum almost stole it there from Walker. Forrest, beg your pardon, who slipped back door and got a great pass from Jarquez Smith.
And this is one of the defensive lineup for Florida State. This is the group that Leonard Hamilton pretty much feels as though they can put more defensive man-to-man pressure on opposing teams because he's got great defenders at every position in this lineup.
Kennard, Marquise Bolden, Frank Jackson on the floor for the first time. Jackson out of the corner. 3 rimmed out. Kennard fought for it. Tried to make a save and fired it past Jackson. It'll belong to Florida State.
On the other end of the floor, Trent Forrest tries to get the pass over Tatum, the long wingspan, but Jarquez Smith with a beautiful feed to Forrest, who's able to finish underneath. And the reason why it's so important for Florida State to score in this game is because that's how they set up that full court pressure, which has really been a staple of what they've been able to do this season.
Tatum cut off Walker and drove to the basket, draws the foul. Jason Tatum. Nope, it's going to be tagged to Marquise Bolden.
And now with that being Bolden, that's 1 foul for Giles, 2 fouls for Jeter, and 1 for Bolden. So 4 fouls already in the front court players for Duke. And a lot of it has more to do with dribble penetration for Florida State than it does actually having to guard the bench. Other than the Ojo putback, it's been all guards drawing those fouls on the Duke front line.
C.J. Walker out of Indianapolis. Knocked down the free throw, 85% on the year. Had 13 against Wake Forest when he hit 3 threes. Averaging about 14 minutes a ball game.
And his biggest contribution is on the defensive end of the floor. I mean, of course, he's very good offensively, but defensively, he really can change the pace for the Seminoles.
Jones, Bolden in traffic, and he traveled with it. Marquise Bolden, Corey, playing for just the 9th time tonight on this season, and there's still some habits he's yet to develop for Jeff Capel's team. And don't forget the 2017 New York Life ACC tournaments headed to the Big Apple, and the ACC is giving you a chance to come to, enter to win a travel voucher, hotel accommodations, and tickets at the acc.com/VIP. Lob for the post, going beyond the reach of Smith, and a turnover by Florida State. It was interesting talking with Jeff Capel about the absence of Jefferson, what it means in terms of other guys, Bolden's conditioning, his habits in game-to-game scenarios. He was hurt with injury earlier in the year, too.
Absolutely. And when you think about Bolden, he's a young man that most likely would have been a starter for Duke this season at the 5 position, but the injury didn't allow him to do any working out, much of anything, and it's really held him back trying to get back into shape at this point.
Tatum misfires. Forrest. Florida State by 4. Kofor going to work on Tatum. Giles pulls it away.
And that's an area, if you're Florida State, you've got to be able to take advantage of those. If Duke is going to play small, and, you say small at 6'8" with Tatum, even though, he has the size. He's more of a perimeter player than he is a post player. But when you have your chance to post him, you've got to score and put foul trouble on him.
In traffic, tried to flip it to Giles, got deflected. Allen fires a pass for Kennard, who can't knock the shot down, but does draw the foul. And the foul will be on Forrest. It'll be his first, and that's 4 now on Florida State.
And one thing we did notice with Florida State coming in with their defensive unit and Grayson Allen sitting down, it did put a little more pressure on Duke's offense. So Jeff Capel getting Grayson Allen back in the game, who really has been, very stable at the point guard position since his return from suspension, averaging over 13 points but 9 assists a game.
Yep.
And I think that he gives them a sense of calmness because, of course, he's played in the biggest environments possible. We could always go back to the national championship game where he was a stud as a freshman.
Kennard's got 5. Jonathan Isaac back on the floor now for Florida State. So the freshman from Naples, averaging nearly 9 rebounds to go with 10 points in conference play. Forrest to the basket. And Ted Valentine has a whistle and a foul.
And you see Florida State really giving Duke kind of a taste of its own medicine, where you have perimeter players, someone just putting their head down, driving the basketball to the rim. And that's how Duke puts so much pressure on opposing teams' defense, with Florida State doing the job here early in this game as well.
2 shots here for Forrest, but 1 and 1 with 12:27 to play in this first half. And the free throw from Forrest is good. He's a 66% free throw shooter, and those are his first points in the last 3 games.
And Trent Forrest, a little under the weather today, didn't participate much in shoot-around. Actually had the sweatshirt on out here in warm-ups, but one of the things Coach Ham said about him, he's a warrior. He's going to be out there when it's time for the ball to go up.
Just the second. So it's a 3-point lead for Florida State. I'll tell you, Florida State might be the deepest team in the ACC so far, Corey.
Not just the ACC. I'm not sure there's a deeper team in the country when you look at the fact that they play 12 to 13 regular rotation players.
Here's Isaac on the run out and the layup in transition. Jonathan Isaac's first points.
And Harry Giles with 1 foul, couldn't afford the foul. He already got 2 on Jeter. And he couldn't afford the foul on that break.
Jackson missed the layup. And out of there with it, Jarquez Smith. Florida State by 5. Smith. Tan Mays can't get through. Smith tries to help. Hand check foul, and that might be 2 on Giles. Second on Harry Giles, 8th on the Blue Devils. Free throws when we come back to Tallahassee. Brought to you by PNC Bank. Gastonia, North Carolina native Leonard Hamilton, now in season number 15 here in Tallahassee, and head coaching campaign number 30, Corey.
Yes, absolutely, and of course, he practices what he preaches. He's a man that's actually mentored me for a very long time, recruited me when he was at Miami. And I was coming out of high school and was always able to maintain a great relationship with him, but he practices what he preaches. He's about taking these teenagers coming in and making them great young men when they leave this program.
Xavier Rattan-Mays, 62% free throw shooters, push the lead to 6. It'll stay there as he misses the second. Duke's now been without a field goal the last 3.5 minutes. And the Blue Devils trail 20-14 here at the Tucker Center.
And remember who was on the floor for those last 3.5 minutes for Duke. It was that defensive lineup for Florida State. Coach Ham has told us he likes to play the switch-up game and bring that lineup in. He feels though they're better defensively. Their starting lineup is better on the offensive end of the floor.
Well, we told you at the top about the sophomores, but right there we had the rookie matchup of Tatum and Isaac, and that's worth your money too here tonight in this building.
Absolutely, and those 2 guys were actually teammates in the Hoop Summit back in April, as well as Frank Jackson and Marquise Bolden.
Kennard's basket will be counted. Chris Kamaji, the sophomore from the nation of Chad, blocked it off the window.
And you see Kennard going in, unable to get free, but gets it high up on the glass. The ball hits the glass first, so great call. Teddy Valentine under the basket, picking that one up.
Second field goal for Kennard. He's got 7 to lead the Blue Devils. Isaac. Now Bacon, who's been quiet. Missed everything. Kennard, the rebound of the air ball.
One of the areas we're going to have to keep an eye on Dwayne Bacon. Tweaked his knee and shoot around earlier today. Actually came out of warm-up with the brace on. Decided not to play with the brace. But you could tell he was testing it out. Could be bothering a little bit.
Allen tries to find the seam. Dumps it to Jones. Matt Jones is 26th three of the year. He's got 5, and Duke's to within 1.
But that's what makes Duke so dangerous. I mean, and Grayson Allen, the penetration once again, and more importantly, constricting the defense and then finding shooters on the perimeter. We mentioned 9 assists per game since moving over primarily to the point guard position this year in the last couple of games.
Duke 3 of 5 from behind the line. Isaac can't answer. Over the inline, out of bounds. Corey, we get a Euro step here?
I'm not sure if it was a Euro, but it was a beautiful pass by Grayson Allen, and understanding that he would have had to finish over top of a 7'4" defender and recognizing he had Matt Jones, who's been knocked down, shooting the ball from outside wide open in the corner.
Bounce pass through. Great pass. Allen, the layup for Jones, who scored Duke's last 5.
Absolutely, and Duke is so much better when Allen handling the basketball, playing the way that he is, and give him a lot of credit for how he's come back from suspension and taken over the reins at point guard position, and just like that, Duke is holding the lead.
Let me ask you this. You talked about the Carolina Ford dealer keys, controlling your emotions. Duke's done that with their play here in the first half.
Absolutely, and you see where the screen happens so far out on the floor, and again, what we saw that in our progressive play earlier in the game, but Dwayne Bacon turning his head, and you see, and Bacon looking as though he's not quite up to speed, and we talked about that knee earlier. You saw him come out with the brace on. Going to be interesting to watch him for the remainder of this game. I know it wasn't a game that he was going to miss,
right?
But he's not 100% going out there right now.
How much uncharted waters Leonard Hamilton got with this team, though? They've got some nice wins. They're in a gauntlet of the schedule, though, Corey. And this is a big ball game for both these schools, really, early in the ACC season.
It is, and you know, Coach Ham's team, Florida State, did not play the schedule that Duke played in the non-conference. Duke always takes on one of the toughest non-conference schedules in the country. Florida State didn't play that gauntlet, but they have it coming now. 6 straight ranked teams that they have to play basically to begin ACC play. And so they will find out who they are in about 2 weeks when this stretch is over.
It's a deep basketball team that's had a lot of success. They come in second in scoring at almost 87 points a game, but Duke's got their first lead. Mann had it deflected on his drive. Now Kennard on a run out with Bacon, and Luke Kennard scoops it in. 9 for Kennard, and a beautiful take.
You know, when the season started and you talked about all the different guys that you could see from Duke going into the draft this year, the one person that you didn't hear the name was Luke Kennard, but he has definitely put himself in that conversation, as well as Terrence Mann going to the offensive glass and picking up second chance points, needed second chance points for the Seminoles.
Second field goal from Mann. Blue Devils by 1. Tatum stripped of it by Isaac. And trying to find a seam in transition. Tan Mays hesitated. Inside, here's Kamaji. Right-hand jump hook over Jeter.
And even though he doesn't finish that, that's a good look for Florida State. He's capable of making that shot, but more importantly, they have to put that pressure on Duke to recognize that they will throw the ball inside and try to score. Otherwise, the Blue Devils would just load up on the perimeter.
Approaching 8 minutes to play first half. A hotly contested game. Allen for 3. And Isaac will collect it for the Noles. With Tan Mays from the corner. One and done is FSU. Allen on the run. Skips it across for another Jones 3.
Regardless of the result, beautiful find by Grayson Allen.
Bacon against Allen. Offensive foul, Dwayne Bacon. First on the sophomore from Lakeland, number 6 on Florida State. Under 8 timeout in Tallahassee. 1-point lead for the Blue Devils. We welcome the nearly 1 million men and women of the U.S. Army, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, and Marines stationed around the globe. Proud to have you with us. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast, and thanks for protecting our freedom. And Luke Kennard's off to a good start, Corey.
And Luke Kennard has a lot of freedom in the Duke offense. You see the jab step three, but he also has become so good at putting the basketball on the floor, getting to the rim and scoring, and then defensively coming up with a stop and getting out on the break and finishing in transition. Luke Kennard right now is scoring at all levels, from beyond the arc, at the free throw line, and in the mid-range. And it's really just interesting to watch him because he does it and makes it look so easy.
Forrest back on the floor. Also P.J. Savoy for the first time for Florida State. And here's Allen for three. Missed everything. Tatum couldn't collect it. It'll go to Florida State. Now P.J. Savoy, the sophomore from Vegas, didn't play against Virginia. Had 11 points in 7 minutes in a flurry against the Hokies here on Saturday.
Let me tell you, P.J. Savoy is locked and loaded, and he will shoot it at any time on cue. And you have to be close. He's Luke Kennard-like with the three-point shot. Now, he doesn't do the other things that Kennard does, but when I tell you he's locked and loaded, he can really shoot the basketball.
There was no hesitation there.
And there won't be any. The next time he touches it, he's only looking at the rim.
21st three of the year for Savoy. Knowles back in front. Kennard drew the contact. They battle, and last touch Bacon, I believe. No, last touch by Duke, says Michael Roberts.
P.J. Savoy, as we told you, he's locked and loaded at all times, and he has the green light. Matter of fact, a neon green light from Leonard Hamilton. And Coach Ham told me early in the year he's the best shooter we have. And a beautiful feed from Dwayne Bacon. Terrence Mann finishes it off.
7 for Mann, and the Knowles have put 5 in a row on the board. Turned over, here's Bacon. Savoy again. P.J. Savoy is a volume shooter of the basketball. Defensive shield, Corey.
Well, when you look at Florida State defense, already 3 steals tonight, averaging 8.1 per game and 5.2 block shots. And more importantly is what they do in the full court, picking up that pressure. As you see, they don't allow point guards to have any possessions off, and they stay in the passing lanes, making it difficult for your team on the offensive end of the floor.
Ball got deflected. Kennard trying to go to the corner for Jones. So it will stay with the Blue Devils, who trail now by 7. Frank Jackson's come back into the ball game. Bolden also on the floor, Corey, playing with the 1 foul. Giles has 2, Jeter has 2. And Tatum gets his second field goal.
And we've mentioned there are 23 NBA scouts, GMs, executives, whatever you want to call them, in the building today. And the reason Jason Tatum is one of those, but there's so much talent on the floor tonight, guys that will be playing in the NBA soon to come.
Kennard, nice layup in transition. Luke Kennard now with 11 first-half points.
And that's nothing new for Luke Kennard. In their biggest games, he's normally coming up huge.
Savoy couldn't finish. Mann follows. 9 for Terrence Mann.
And we talked about the absence of Emil Jefferson and what he brings to the lineup for Duke. That's what Terrence Mann does for this Florida State team. He's a glue guy, offensive rebounder, makes all the hustle plays. Very little flash, but so much productivity.
Off the ball foul on the Blue Devils against Matt Jones. That'll be his second. 9 now on Duke. No free throws on player control. And Michael Ojo and C.J. Walker, the freshman, come back out for Florida State.
And the one area you see differently with Florida State that you don't see with Duke, the amount of depth that Florida State has. And Leonard Hamilton plays his guys in really 3 to 4 minute stretches to give them opportunities to rest. As you see Dwayne Bacon finding his way to the rim, able to finish. But those 3 to 4 minute spurts is all designed to see if they can wear you down in the last 8 to 10 minutes of a basketball game. And right now, Florida State off to a great start here in the first half.
Tatum, nice move from the high post on the dribble.
Unless I'm telling you, he's special. When it talks about scoring the basketball, with his size and skill level, He is a special player.
Well, you just don't see 6'8", 200-pound perimeter players, Corey.
And to be honest, you're not going to see him long. This is his one and only campaign for the Blue Devils.
Off the back iron, and Jackson runs it down. Back to Tatum. Kennard. Got it poked away, stayed with it. Here's Walker, and Bacon couldn't handle it. Florida State turns it over in transition.
Florida State off to a great start. P.J. Savoy knocking down the three. Dwayne Bacon finding teammates. Terrence Mann finishing all over the place. And the Noles hold a 5-point lead. One and done route. The major recruits, once Jeff Capel joined this staff, and it really shows you kind of what Mike Krzyzewski's about. He's adapted as a head coach, just like Leonard Hamilton as this has gone along. But Jeff Capel getting an opportunity once again to be a head coach, and great seeing that young man over there once again.
Tell you what, the foundation of Mike Krzyzewski, Corey, in 37 years in Durham, when your entire coaching staff is made up of guys that understand your culture, understand what your principles in your program are, and you have a situation like he has with taking a leave of absence after his back surgery on Friday. Here's Tatum, by the way, on the drive. And saved by Jackson, and Jeter put it up with 1 on the clock. Duke gets a free second chance out of it, and Allen scores and draws the foul.
And how about the hustle from Chase Jeter, who made that whole possession possible in his second chance opportunities as everyone's going after the basketball, and Grayson Allen continues to attack the paint. I can remember I used to nickname Grayson Crash because he was always on the floor, and the one thing about him, he's never stopped playing with that reckless abandon, has no fear of contact as he finds his way into the rim once again, an opportunity to get to the free throw line.
Michael Ojo's second foul. Brings a 3:05 to play here in the first half.
And now when you look at Grayson Allen, this is a young man that averaged 20-plus points per game last year and taking on a new role this year, more so as a point guard, and has excelled at that role, especially as of late.
Savoy's three no good. Allen on the run out and draws the foul from Walker. First on Walker, 8 on Florida State. 2 more free throws for the Jacksonville, Florida junior.
And great hustle by C.J. Walker getting back, affecting that shot, not allowing Grayson Allen to take off and finish, making him earn that at the free throw line. But a good foul.
1 of 3 at the line is Allen here tonight. You see a year ago in the win in Durham, 18 points for Grayson Allen. I was telling you about Capel. 4 former players. No better representatives and understanding of what's been built by Mike Krzyzewski than this right here, is there?
And not only 4 former players, 4 former captains. And you can only be a coach on the Duke staff if you were a captain. So he had to think that much of you when you were playing to be able to bring you back and allow you to be one of the coaches. And that really started in the 1996-97 season after he had to take his first leave with back surgery. And since then, it's been all Duke on the sideline.
Driving score by Bacon, his 3rd field goal. He's got 7 here in the first half. Well, we thought we might have a good one. Corey, we got it now.
Absolutely, and both these teams, excellent offensive teams. Florida State continues to get better defensively, but Duke has been very good here in the first half on their defensive end as well.
Jackson, his 3 rims off. Bacon. Skip for Walker against Allen. Redirect on the drive and draws the foul. The foul is on Grayson Allen, his 2nd. 10 now on the Blue Devils.
C.J. Walker continues to attack the rim, but actually comes down on that wrist. You see him shaking that left wrist. And that's one of the areas as a basketball player, you learn that as you continue to grow. When you go down, don't put your hands down. That's the easiest way to break a wrist.
By Walker, good.
It's not easier said than done, because I can remember many times falling and putting my hands down.
Jonathan Isaac back on the floor for Florida State here.
A little bit of foul trouble starting to add up for the Blue Devils, and again, they don't have the depth that Florida State has, so that's something that you got to pay attention to, especially getting into the second half early. You don't want to take away the aggressiveness of these Duke players with them being in foul trouble.
Tatum on the drive and a foul on Isaac, whistled by Jeff Clark. And that'll be number 2 on Jonathan Isaac. 9 on Leonard Hamilton's team here in the opening half. Tan Mays and Brian Angola Rodas has come back on the floor for Florida State. Bacon out there with Jarquez Smith and Terrence Mann. And first of the free throws for Jason Tatum.
And everywhere Jason Tatum has been, he's been able to put up points. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's a guy that gets to the free throw line often and very good normally cashing in whenever he gets his opportunities.
At 10 in the first half, he and Kennard carrying the Blue Devils. They trail by 2 now, under 2 to play. Florida State is 6 of 11 at the line. Duke is 8 of 11. Angola Rodas had it knocked out, last touched. And Ted Valentine and Mike Roberts, I believe, are going to huddle here. And it will stay with Florida State. The officials got together and everybody in agreement, at least in the striped shirt. Tan Mays burned the dribble. Smith calling for it on Jeter. Right hand jump hook. Knocked out of bounds by Florida State. And a foul called in the process on Terrence Mann. Don't forget Hardy's halftime report coming up. We'll get a chance to find out who you think will be the leading scorer in the conference with our live vote at the ACC.com/live vote. And also a look back to last night where Clemson won the College Football National Championship with the unbelievable victory over Alabama and Tampa. You'll hear from Dabo Swinney and Deshaun Watson, all on the Hardy's halftime report.
Excited to see that, even Florida State fans.
Yeah.
Excited to see Clemson winning the national championship. Great win for the league.
Kennard knocks the free throw down.
And how about the ACC in football this year? Knocking off Florida State beating Michigan.
Right.
Clemson beating both Ohio State and Alabama.
Yep.
Clemson actually beat the last 7 national champions this year. So you got to give Dabo Swinney and what his program has been able to do a lot of credit.
Sound like you need a rep or 2 in the fall. Ready to go with us?
Sign me up.
Tan Mays with 72 seconds to play. Ball game tied at 37 after the Kennard free throw. And inside, Jarquez Smith puts Florida State in front again.
And that's what Florida State has developed as a team. And Leonard Hamilton talked about how they needed to be better in the half-court offense. And that's an area in the past where they may have forced a shot early, but continue to work the shot clock to find the right look.
Jackson all the way to the basket and an offensive foul as Smith was able to draw the personal. First on Frank Jackson, no free throws for Florida State.
You see Rodas getting into Frank Jackson, forcing him to try to make a play. And Jarquez Smith, who's a big-time shot blocker, 107 blocks in his career, going a different route there, stepping up and taking the charge, still with the same result.
Tan Mays tried to go backdoor, deflected to Bacon. And a tap follow a third time by Bacon. Dwayne Bacon with 9, Florida State by 4. And we're in the final half minute. And this sellout house now to its feet. Turn to shoot. Jackson with 5. No help from the screen. Kennard with 2. Scoop at the horn, and it rolled off. And a foul, I believe. We'll see what Mike Roberts. It'll be a held ball that will go to the Blue Devils with 2.7.
And a break for Duke, a great defensive stand by Florida State. But the hustle from the Blue Devils, Chase Jeter getting in, just tying up the basketball. giving Duke another chance to put points on the board with 2.7 remaining in the half. This is an area where you got to be careful of Tatum at 6'8" in that wingspan, just catching over the top. Terrence Mann, a great defender, but he gives up a couple of inches to Tatum. See if there's a little bit of eye contact between Luke Kennard and Tatum over the top.
Kennard at the horn. Duke gets nothing on the final sequence, and Florida State's going to take a 4-point lead to the locker room, Corey, in front of this sellout house.
But if I'm Duke, I'm okay with where I am right now because, of course, as you mentioned, the sellout house, the raucous crowd, but Duke's still in good shape, only down 4 going into halftime. Leonard Hamilton has built a solid foundation here over the last 15 years at Florida State and continues as this program continues to move into the future. They're not done. They got an extra level they're going to build onto that as well.
Wow. And they've got a great first half. Knowles by 4 and the basketball, and here is Bacon sliding baseline.
I believe Bacon was surprised he actually got that open. Missing an easy layup on that one. Probably should have gone to the reverse layup to find himself on balance. But you see, Florida State wants to come out and attack the rim against this Duke team who's already in foul trouble in the first half.
3 ball away, and the Blue Devils to within 1.
And when you look at Luke Kennard's efficiency, you're talking about a perimeter shooter shooting well over 50% from the floor and an unbelievable touch, not only beyond the arc, but when he gets to the basket as well. As we see Jonathan Isaac coming off and actually getting fouled by Tatum shooting the jump shot.
Isaac only had 1 field goal in the first half. Jason Tatum's first foul. First of the second half on the Blue Devils. So the big 6'10" freshman from Naples, Florida, averaging 10 points and 9 rebounds in 3 league games to the strike.
And back to Luke Kennard. Luke Kennard coming into this season felt as though he was going to be a piece to the puzzle of what was an extremely talented team. He didn't even expect to be a 20-point-per-game scorer. Now, of course, as you can tell, definitely capable of it, but with all the injuries, it kind of projected him into a role that now you have to look at him and not only as the leader of this team, but, you know, an ACC Player of the Year candidate, maybe the front runner for that award this year.
I'd say early on for sure. Isaac bought 1 of 2 at the line. Florida State's lead 2, and Allen the turnover trying to kick it for Matt Jones. Florida State forced the turnover. Minute gone here in half number 2. Bacon feeds Isaac on the slash, couldn't hang on. Knowles give it right back. Allen fights his way through, feeds Giles. Lost it on the way up, and a whistling foul on Florida State. And it's on Terrence Mann. It'll be his second, and number 1 in the second half on Coach Hamilton's club. And here's Harry Giles, 6'10" and a freshman from Winston-Salem, playing in just his 6th ball game of the year. And he will shoot into the student section here in this second half at the free throw line. First one good. He's now 4 of 6 at the line on this season, Corey.
And Harry Giles being thrust into even a different role for him, coming back off of injury. Now with Noah Miller-Jefferson, he becomes the primary post player for the Duke Blue Devils. And honestly, he's not really a 5. He's more of a skill 4 with the injury coming back and really trying to get his timing together. But a special talent as well. Of course, the number 1 rated recruit coming out of high school a season ago.
Here is Mann. Giles got 1 of 2 at the line. Minute and a half gone here in the second half. Started out in the flurry. Rattan Mays sneaks through and scores. 5 for XRM here in the ball game.
And a beautiful split of the pick and roll right there. Recognizing no defense back behind the screen. It was a great job manipulating the screen and roll.
Kennard guarded by Isaac. Tried to go to Tatum, deflected away. Corey, his maturity as a player, XRM, over 3 years has been really impressive.
Absolutely. We're talking about a young man that, as a freshman, had a less than 4-minute spurt where he scored 30 points in the game and now has matured and become more of a point guard as he's become really the de facto leader of this Florida State team with the basketball in his hands.
Allen against man draws the foul. 2 quick ones in the second half on Terrence Mann, number 2. On the nose, 3rd in the ball game on Terrence Mann, and there's the Philadelphia senior, Emil Jefferson, missing the ball game tonight. A bruised ankle bone, sustained Saturday against Boston College.
And Emil Jefferson is, of course, one of the guys that Duke could ill afford to lose. His leadership, his rebounding, and his presence on the interior really made things go for this Blue Devil team. And, of course, they played well here tonight, but he's been missed, especially when you see the foul trouble that their front line is going through. He's a guy that's, he'll go out and play 35, 40 minutes in a very competitive game.
Allen gets both. Chase Jeter will spell Harry Giles early here in the second half. So the sophomore from Las Vegas, who's back into the Duke lineup for the first time in 3 games here tonight. Point lead for Florida State. Trent Forrest on the floor during the break. Turned over, trying to go to Isaac with a bounce pass. Kennard feeds Jeter. Skips to Kennard, a triple. Rim down, and Isaac the rebound.
It's one of those where you're shocked to see Luke Kennard miss. I mean, Florida State dodging the bullet, and they really haven't handled the basketball extremely well coming out in the second half, giving Duke too many opportunities in transition.
3rd on Allen, 2nd on the Blue Devils. How about a quick check of our Honda dealers of the Carolinas AP Top 25? This is what you said at the break. 6 top 25 teams from the ACC, Corey.
And it was 7 last week. Actually, Virginia Tech now out of top 25. But when you play in the gauntlet that is the ACC, you're going to have those losses. Doesn't mean that those teams aren't as good. But like I said, when you have this many ranked teams playing against each other, someone has to lose.
Tan Mays had it spin out. Isaac recovers and then flush. He's got 5. Florida State's lead is 3.
And that's where Jonathan Isaac has really, since his injury, he started off the year scoring really well, but since his injury hasn't scored as well, but averaging 8.4 rebounds per game, leading all freshmen in rebounding in the ACC, and that's something that translates not only at this level, but the next level as well.
Tatum's 3 ties the ball game.
As does shooting. Jason Tatum knocking down a huge 3.
His 2nd tonight, his 10th of the year, locked up at 46. With 3.5 gone in the second 20 minutes. Forrest. Ojo. 7 for Michael Ojo.
But you talk about development. When Michael Ojo came to Florida State, that would have been a turnover. He was a guy you really couldn't throw him the basketball.
Allen scoops it in over the top of Ojo to finish the break.
And that's what Coach Leonard having to talk to us about. Duke has players that not only get to the rim, but also make tough shots.
No basket, offensive foul on Dwayne Bacon, and a nice job by Jeter. 2nd on Bacon and the 3rd on Florida State in the half.
That's a great stop. And stepping up, Chase Jeter just getting in position to absorb that contact.
Frank Jackson's come on the floor for Duke here in this second half.
And we have to remember, in the first half, with the defensive Trent Forrest guarding Frank Jackson, Duke got sped up a little bit offensively, and Florida State was able to go on a run. We'll see if Jackson's calmed down a bit here in the second half, or if Florida State is able to use those same opportunities.
Jackson was scoreless, by the way, in the first 20 minutes too, Corey. Tatum had it poked away. He and Isaac fight for the loose ball, and a foul called on Tatum. Actually, good thing there was a whistle. Florida State was in full gear in transition. We're tied at 48 at the Tucker Center.
I was out here smoking instead of being there for my son's winning shot. That was it for me.
Tallahassee, the adjective to describe him was a large human being. Now he's a large human being with game. Michael Ojo with great hands, the ability to finish, strong opportunities at the rim. and has been in a presence on the interior for the Seminoles tonight. As you see, the points in the paint, Ojo was 7 of the 32 points in the paint for Florida State. That's where they've had an advantage, but yet we still have a tie basketball game.
A warm, humble, fun guy to talk to, but built rock solid from the bottom to the top.
Absolutely. Great to talk to and be around him. And, as friendly as they get, but just intimidating standing beside him. He's a big guy.
XRM off the screen, and we get a hand check foul on Frank Jackson. Jackson's second, 3 now on the Blue Devils, 3 on each school here in the second. 48 all the school. Number 9 Florida State, highest ranking for the Noles since 92-93.
That was a good team.
11 straight wins. They've tied a school record. Baseline Kofor. Blocked out of there by Jeter. Well, Chase Jeter's played well here tonight.
And Chase Jeter really coming off an injury, was a starter early in the year and had a bad ankle sprain, really never regained his spot as well as his timing, but giving the Blue Devils good minutes here today.
Hands to Kennard, sets the screen. Sophomore in the traffic took the contact and scored. 18 for Kennard on his 6th field goal.
And just so efficient. It makes it look so easy. Luke Kennard, and he's so good in the mid-range. Everyone thinks he's just a three-point shooter, but he does so much more than just shoot the basketball.
Turned over, and here is Tatum, and he's fouled. No travel is the call from Mike Roberts.
Well, Tatum actually turns around and sees Bacon there. As we look, catches in stride. That's tough right there. Luke Kennard gave me the look and said, I don't think so.
Luke might have to agree with Luke. Luke was litigating over here to the table. First time this year that we've had somebody actually seek out the media for confirmation.
But your first time. I talk to these guys during the game all the time.
Yes, I'm well aware. I'm with the ambassador to the players. Ball away by Bacon. Tough shot. And Dwayne Bacon moves into double figures now with 11.
And now at 26 straight games in double figures for Bacon.
Tied at 50. Kennard tried to feed Jeter. Kicked out of bounds. It'll stay with the Blue Devils. Allen and Giles going to hustle back in for Coach Capel. And Frank Jackson will get a seat with Chase Jeter. Well, they're missing Jefferson, and you can't replace everything Emil Jefferson does, as you see Smith get Ojo's spot for Florida State. But Jeter has tried to offset Jefferson's absence here tonight.
He really has, and you see a good look at the rim, not finished, but the offensive rebound. Tatum unable to finish it. Florida State doesn't want to wait. That's one thing Leonard Hamilton talked to the team about. He doesn't want any outlet passes. Unless it's Ojo, Kamaji, or one of the bigs, he wants his guys going full speed. And because they get down the floor so fast, Phil Kofor gets an opportunity right at the rim.
Puts Florida State back in front.
And remember, this is that defensive lineup that we talked about early. Kofor guarding Jason Tatum.
And Golarotis draws Kennard here too, Corey. They try to go to Tatum, and Giles threw it away. Unforced error by the Blue Devils in the half court.
Absolutely, and Florida State picking it up, and again, they don't allow you to rest on any possession. That's the key to what Leonard Hamilton is doing with this group, is making sure that he keeps fresh defenders on the floor at all times so they're playing with maximum effort on the defensive end of the floor. If you're going to rest, do it on offense, but even then, he's probably going to take you out of the game.
Walker. Here's Smith trying to go to Bacon. Off the deflection. And Golarotis feeds Jarquez Smith for the dunk. 4-point lead for the Noles. Jones in traffic. Rebound Walker. Here's Florida State. Bacon the triple. Allen the long rebound. Blue Devils slip the floor. Jones is shot fake.
Jarquez Smith took a hit. Gets back in and makes a huge defensive play as he calls for the sub.
Bacon off the glass.
How about Jarquez Smith? Actually took a hit on the previous possession, was bent over, but never gave up on the triple feed to Terrence Mann, and then up to his usual trick, finding his way to the rim, scoring over the top of Duke defense. Dwayne Bacon has been a problem for defenders all year long and continues to do so today. You're always going to have great signs here at the Donald L. Tucker Center when you're talking about Dwayne Bacon.
8-0 Florida State run, and Duke has turned it over for a 12th time. Corey, the 11 Blue Devil turnovers tonight have been cashed in for 18 points by Florida State.
But Wes, the thing about those turnovers is coming off of the full court pressure, and it's not as though they're trapping, but when you have C.J. Walker and Trent Forrest and even Rattan Mays picking you up full court and making you just move faster than you want to, it forces you to have to make those passes on the run, which of course are much more difficult.
Here's Walker flipping it. Ojo the catch. Big Michael lays it in. 9 for Ojo. The run is 10-0 now.
Wes, you and I watched that. Florida State worked on that constantly in their shoot-around today, getting into the paint and just throwing it up to the big fella once they were able to draw the double team. C.J. Walker executing it perfectly on that possession.
Allen. Duke trails 8. 3 ball by Jones.
You mentioned the leadership. Big bucket by Matt Jones right there when Duke needed it most.
Timeout on the floor, the under 12. The Jones 3 for the first time in 4 years greets us tonight at the Tucker Center, Corey, and being treated to a really good ball game. 58-53 Florida State with just under 12 to go.
And I think we're going to have an exciting finish in this one too. Both these teams competing extremely hard.
Inbounds for Walker. To Isaac with Tatum defending. Quite on balance when he tried to score. Here's Tatum, and a blocking call on C.J. Walker.
That's where C.J. has to be careful. I know he didn't like the call, but the reaction, don't allow yourself to hurt your team by getting a technical foul. Now, again, he's got a right to be upset because he was still. He set up for that one, and the Florida State fans seeing that on the Jumbotron. The Jumbotron is the worst thing to ever happen to referees. I'm telling you that right now. It never works out well for them.
Kennard to Jeter and a foul there.
And a good foul by C.J. Walker there, not allowing Jeter to have the easy dunk. Forcing him to go to the free throw line and earn those 2 points.
Well, Jeter not a particularly good free throw shooter either. 58% on the year, just 14 of 24. Duke is struggling at the line tonight. The Blue Devils with the miss there. 13 of 18. Florida State has really missed some chances. They're 7 of 13.
So when you see those numbers from Duke, of course, a team that's normally, great at the free throw line, that's what makes a difference. But more importantly, when you're on the road, you have to take advantage of all those opportunities.
Deflected on the lob. Back for Angola Rodas' 3. Tatum over Ojo for the rebound, Corey. Blue Devils to within 4 now as we approach 11 minutes to play here in Tallahassee. Tatum threw it away to Bacon. Finds an alley. Got his own rebound and a travel call. That'll send it back to the Blue Devils. Just one other ball game in the Atlantic Coast Conference tonight. And around the ACC brought to you by Nicorette Minis, and that is a win tonight for Buzz Williams and Virginia Tech. Zach Leday led 5 Hokies in double figures with 20 tonight at the Castle in Blacksburg.
And that's another example of how difficult it is to win on the road in the ACC. Yep. Syracuse, 2 straight games winning at home, 2 losses on the road. Same thing for Virginia Tech, 2 wins at home, 2 losses out on the road.
Home teams are now 18 and 6 so far in conference play, by the way. Kennard. Duke trailing 4. Number 7 team in the country has won 12 of the last 13. Tatum a 2 off the screen. Angola Rodas. And Ted Valentine a whistle to stop play. And a Foul on Jeter. His third, 4 on Duke.
And you see Michael Ojo, Chase Jeter battling for position underneath. And nothing against Chase Jeter, but it's going to be difficult getting around Ojo once you get to the post. Once he gets his spot, you're going to have to release and get far away and to maybe, take a little sprint lap around Michael Ojo. That's the only way you're going to get in front.
Yeah, it's like the circle around the monument. 4-point lead for Florida State. Tan Mays, the lob for Isaac. Six-point lead. XRM teed up the rookie. Tatum tries to counter. Blocking call on Michael Ojo. Third on Ojo.
Xavier Rattan-Mays does a great job recognizing where the big was. Chase Jeter steps up. He knows there's no one that can contend with Jonathan Isaac at the rim. Beautifully lays it in the right place to get Isaac a bucket. Be interesting to see if that can get him going on the offensive end of the floor.
Jarquez Smith gets Ojo's spot for Coach Hamilton. Kennard finds Jeter, tied up momentarily by Savoy. And a 3-second call on the sophomore from Vegas, Chase Jeter.
And that's where Chase Jeter has to look to score. We've seen him catch the basketball too many times in the paint and being passive and looking for opportunities to throw it out. And now you see Duke going with the smallest lineup they have available, with Jason Tatum actually at the 5 position guarding Jarquez Smith, bringing Frank Jackson in for Jeter. Now, if you're Florida State, every time a shot goes up on your offensive end, you should be crashing the boards, seeing if you can pick up second chance opportunities.
XRM to the rack. 7 for Rattan-Mays.
And what you also lose is rim protection. And you see Rattan-Mays recognizing that immediately and just making a beeline to the rim.
Allen splits the double, can't score on the layup. Knowles by 8. Baseline, Kofor.
Bill Kofor has to be aggressive, try to score.
Tap follow man.
There it is, the offensive glass. There's not enough size for Duke on the floor to contend with the nose at the rim.
Florida State by 10. Just ahead of 9 minutes to go here at the Tucker Center in Tallahassee. An acting head coach.
This time on, this is the time where Leonard Hamilton feels like the fact that he's playing 12 guys in their regular rotation should wear down the opposing team. And right now we're seeing, Florida State start to flex its muscle a little bit against the Blue Devils. But of course, when you're playing against Duke, you can never let your foot off the pedal. They got way too many shooters on this team that can even this game out quickly.
There's Jackson breaking the pressure. The wear down factor you're talking about is what happened here on Saturday against Virginia Tech.
It's happened a lot. They're 15-1. It's happened a lot this year.
Tatum and the foul. Nice pass, Jones, and a great finish by the St. Louis freshman.
And a great recognition on the back door right there as Tatum comes up and sees the overplay, cutting back door. And a beautiful finish, and that's one with Jarquez Smith. Again, you come across, and Smith is a shot blocker, but when you come across, you don't swipe at the basketball. You've got to contend with Tatum at the rim.
Second foul on Rattan-Mays is the 7th on Florida State. Tatum gets the 3-point trip. Duke trails by 7. Rattan-Mays right back at the Blue Devils. Jarquez Smith drives on Giles, found the spot at the baseline and scored.
The amazing thing about this Florida State lineup and the fact that they're playing 12 guys, each and every one of them comes in and plays their role and plays it well. You normally have guys sulking about their minutes, but they all come off and play their part regardless of whether it's 2 minutes or 20 minutes, they're getting the job done.
It helps when you're 15-1, doesn't it?
It really does. It helps you sell that program when you're winning the way that they are, as Giles is able to finish over the top.
Second field goal for the freshman.
But you get that buy-in when you're winning. When you're not winning games, it's tougher to keep your guys brought in and manage all the personnel.
Rattan-Mays fouled on the drive. Frank Jackson's third. That is 6 now on Duke. And Rattan-Mays will go to the stripe with a 7-point Florida State lead. 1 for 2 tonight at the line. And now has 8 in the ball game.
And he's grown up so much, and I get a chance to talk to him before the game. Love talking to Rattan Mays. He was a guy that would take bad shots early in his career. He's settled down and matured so much as a basketball player, and now a big-time point guard for the Noles and making a big-time shot to give them add to the lead.
Into double figures, the lead 10. Rattan Mays with 10. 8 minutes to go now. Tatum in midair. Smith on the outlet. 3-on-3, and XRM the basket and the foul. Point lead for Florida State. Back after a word.
RM finding his way to the rim. Xavier Rattan Mays has been special this evening for the Seminoles, and none more special. Ooh, the in and out, baby. It's hard to guard, especially when you're coming at him full speed like that. XRM taking over this game in the last couple of minutes for the Seminoles.
Florida State is shooting 64% from the floor here in the second half.
And that's really where the struggle has been for Duke this year, especially when they've been on the road. You go back to the Virginia Tech game, and then here tonight, Virginia Tech shot 55.2% against the Duke defense. And then when you look at what Florida State's doing tonight on their offensive end of the floor, that's where the struggle has been.
The and 1 out of the timeout for Rattan Mays. Lead is 13 and full court pressure now. Offered by Florida State. Kofor, Rattan Mays, Bacon, Smith, and P.J. Savoy on the deck for FSU. And Savoy got caught up in a foul by Harry Giles here.
But that's an example right there. P.J. Savoy came out of a junior college, and of course the reputation, which is well-deserved, of a shooter. But you see what he's doing on the defensive end of the floor because it's required by Leonard Hamilton. And Leonard Hamilton was a half-court defensive guy. In 2010, 2011, his Florida State teams led the country in field goal defense. They do it differently, but just as effective now.
And Mays knocked away. Kennard had a shot on it, last touch by the Blue Devils. You saw the Duke foul trouble a moment ago, and now add Harry Giles to that list. 5 guys for Jeff Capel with 3 personal fouls.
But we talked about that earlier in the game, and that's the pressure that Florida State puts on you when they attack the rim. But for Florida State, they can get in foul trouble because they've got 12 guys that Coach Ham relies on. Duke does not have that luxury, especially without Emil Jefferson, and they don't have that luxury in the front court, more important.
13-point lead for the Noles. Tatum against Smith. Lost it on the dribble. Here's Kennard. Skips for Allen's 3. The rebound, Savoy. P.J. Savoy came on the floor in the first half and dropped 2 long threes in. Bacon on the drive, and that's an offensive foul. That's third on Dwayne Bacon.
And that's his 3rd offensive foul. All of his fouls have been turnovers as well. He's picked up 3 offensive fouls going to the basket, but again, he won't be deterred because of it. No question about it, but that's one where the scouting report says if you're Duke, when Bacon's going to the rim, step in and take that charge. Dwayne Bacon, who plays very well in the mid-range, at this point needs to start pulling up and taking the short 10-foot jump shot.
Bacon, Ojo, Mann, and Walker, all with 3 fouls. Angola Rodas into the game to replace Savoy. Here's Jackson. Duke needs points now, Corey. Trailing 13.
How about that matchup, though? Bacon and Kennard guarding each other in the switch. Luke Kennard recognizing that one thing with Luke Kennard, you cannot back up and you cannot have your hands down because he is ready to fire at all times. And the way he's shooting the basketball this year, it's normally going to be good.
Kennard's got 20, Duke to within 9. Rattan Mays from deep. Well, he hands out a lot early, but he's dropping buckets now.
And that's what he has to be, more of a finisher for this team. Make big shots at the end.
Lead is 14, and here's Bacon at the foul line. And Allen made the save up to Florida State. And then it got twice deflected, last touch by Duke. Allen went to make the save and took out a row of, took about 4 chairs out over there on Leonard Hamilton's bench. Dennis Gates is struggling to get organized over there so they'll have a place to sit.
I was about to say now, he can hit Gates. Gates is tough. It doesn't matter. He's going to shake that off. My man Stan over there might be a little different. It might take Stan a little while to recover.
Stan Jones, longtime Hamilton aide. Charlton Young fill out the staff for Florida State. Allen poked it away from Rattan Mays, but Rodas picks it up, and here's Smith a 3. Coker battled Jackson for the rebound. And what do we get here? Jeff Clark pointing toward the Duke end of the floor. And meanwhile, Allen is shaken up on the floor.
Well, one thing's for certain, the Blue Devils are not going away. A lot of fight from Frank Jackson right there as we've got the tie-up. Alternating possession will go to Duke.
And Allen is in the catcher's crouch in the midcourt area, and I think he's going to come out of the ball game. With Jeff Capel helping him.
There's normally only one reason to go to the catcher's crouch, and you're going to need an escort off the floor if you take one in the wrong position there.
Kennard, Jackson, Jeter, Jones, and Tatum for Duke. Blue Devils number 7 in the country.
Well, Weston, I want to see if you will agree with me on this one. Does anyone in the country have a better bench than Florida State?
Jeter had his dunk blocked. Tatum collects on the step back. Jackson tried to follow. We get a whistle and a foul.
And the reason I asked that question, Jarquez Smith, Phil Kofer, and you look at Smith going up, blocking the Chase Jeter attempt. And again, coming in, affecting the shot by Jason Tatum, but you look at the activity, you look at the energy, the level that the Florida State bench players are playing with. 2 starters on the floor and Rattan Mays and Bacon, but you've got 3 substitutes on the court for Florida State as now they come back in with 2 more starters. But Leonard Hamilton trusts his team. It doesn't matter if it's the first 5. It's the first 12 for him, and he'll tell you, our starting 5 might not be better than Duke and Carolina, but I'm taking my chances with our top 12.
Jackson will hit both free throws. Corey, the wear down factor is what catches your eye. 5:22 to go, and Florida State just keeps kind of rolling guys at you. Tatum stole the backcourt pass and scores off the Florida State turnover.
But you also have to finish right there. You can't afford turnovers.
And a foul there. They tried to trap Rattan Mays on the near side, and he commits the foul. It's his 4th. He's the first Blue Devil with 4.
And part of that finishing is going to be getting to the free throw line and making your free throws. Rattan Mays getting his opportunity here, but when you play against Duke, you always have to be aware of their ability to score big points in small stretches. With Luke Kennard on the floor, with Jason Tatum, you have to make sure that you take care of the basketball and make your free throws when they foul you. Otherwise, you will let these Blue Devils back in the door.
17 for Rattan Mays, and Florida State's 10 of 17 at the line. Made them both. Noles come in hitting 70.9%. 7th in the ACC. Under 68, though, in their 3 conference games. Kennard. 12-point lead for the home team. Too strong off the back iron, and last touched by the Blue Devils. So with under 5 to go now, Duke, who lost the road game at Virginia Tech to open conference play, they've lost 3 straight ACC road games if you go back to the tail end of a season ago. That ball got knocked away by Jeter, recovered by Jones on the Seminole turnover. Here's Tatum, baseline. A dunk, and Isaac blocked it. Batted around, recovered Kennard, and he'll draw the Florida State foul.
Now Isaac in the crouch position after he comes up with a huge block shot. Jonathan Isaac getting over, blocking the dunk attempt by Jason Tatum. You got 2 lottery picks going at it. Isaac wins that battle.
Kennard is going to go to the free throw line, but first a timeout here with 4:39 to go. Well, coming up Saturday, Clemson.
I haven't been to the new Little John yet. Have you been there?
Have not been there, know a little bit about it. Nice venue.
Absolutely. Now, when I was playing in the ACC, it was one of the toughest venues to play in. And from my understanding, they have gotten that atmosphere back. But then, of course, you're going to have the parade on Saturday before that game. Little John is going to be rocking when the Wahoos go in there to play against the Ron Blossom game. And Brad Brownell has a very good team this year at Clemson.
Yep. That's a deep basketball team, too.
They are.
A lot more depth than they've had in years past. As Kennard missed the front end of the two-shot try.
3 transfers now eligible to play at Clemson has given them a strong 8 to 9-man rotation.
Kennard 5 of 6 at the line tonight. 8 in the second half, 21 in the ball game. 11-point lead for Florida State. Rattan Mays with Isaac, Mann, Bacon, and Jarquez Smith. Jackson out there with Kennard, Tatum, Jones, and Chase Jeter. Rattan Mays a 3. Quite a second half for XRM, Corey.
And all of this was set up by him getting to the rim. We know XRM can score in bunches. We've seen that throughout his career, but he's much more confident when he makes a couple layups, gets to the free throw line, gets some rhythm going, and now you've seen him knock down 2 huge three-pointers for the Seminoles.
Kennard, right corner Jackson. Tatum tried to keep it alive. Isaac, the carom.
And right now for Florida State, you do want to use some clock, but you want to be careful of not being too tentative at this point. Continue just to play basketball and try to add to this lead.
18 in the second half, and Isaac finishes. Tatum a deep 3. Kennard on the second chance, scores on the layup. 82-68, we approach 3 minutes to play. Florida State trying to win a school record 12th straight game. Knocked away Jones. Flips it to Jackson. Tatum, a crossover into the lane. Lost it on the way up and lost his right shoe. It'll go to Florida State.
Athletes are at a premium for the Seminoles. There have been a lot of dunks here tonight as they could hold the 14-point lead.
Our performance of the game brought to you by your local Chevy dealer. Hard to pinpoint one guy, Corey.
It is hard to pinpoint one guy when you had 10 of your 12 players score. But more importantly, if you look at the points in the paint and the bench numbers, Florida State, in my opinion, has the best bench in the country. When you can bring 7 different guys off the bench who are always prepared and ready to play, and more importantly, they get the job done defensively.
2.5 to go, and they've got a 14-point lead on number 7 Duke here tonight. Sellout house looking on at the Tucker Center.
And the other luxury to that is you allow your starters to finish the game fresh. As you see Bacon getting in the paint, unable to finish. But Florida State starters have more energy to close games because they don't have to do all the heavy lifting for an entire 40 minutes.
Rattan Mays on the second chance will just burn more clock here. And we'll go inside 2 minutes before Florida State will initiate the offense. Smith tried to help with a screen. XRM with 18 in the second half. And we get a whistle and a foul off the ball. And it's on Matt Jones. It'll be his 4th. He and Jackson each have 4 for Duke with 1:50 to play.
And Leonard Hamilton still coaching them up, having a conversation with Rattan Mays about the shot. And again, Rattan Mays did a very good job milking the shot clock. getting it down to the end and taking the jump shot, but he's had a lot of success getting to the rim. Coach Ham wanting them to continue to put that pressure on Duke's defense.
3 years ago, Jonathan Isaac was a 6'2" guard in South Florida. He's now a 6'10" college freshman.
And kept his guard skills. That's the biggest kick. He kept his ability to shoot the basketball, his ball handling ability, but of course at 6'10", he gained a tremendous rebounding advantage, and he's a young man where, you know, he hasn't even scraped the ceiling as to how good of a player he's going to be.
Jackson took the contact, draws the foul from Jarquez Smith. Third on Smith. I mean, look at the details, Corey, of the things that are starting to come together for Leonard Hamilton's team as they play their 17th game of the year tonight.
And when you look at what they've done to this point, but yet what they still have to do, they're in the middle right now of a stretch where they will face 6 consecutive ranked teams in their first 7 ACC games. They had to win at Wake Forest to start off ACC play. But then as you look at it, it doesn't get easier for here. If they're able to hold on to this lead and walk away with the win tonight, they still have to go to Chapel Hill and face the Tar Heels. I mean, it doesn't get easier for the Seminoles, but it looks as though Leonard Hamilton's team is built for the grind that is the ACC.
Saturday in Chapel Hill, next Wednesday night. Notre Dame, one of those teams playing very well early.
And Notre Dame also 3-0 in ACC play. Yep. They and Florida State, the only 2 teams undefeated in ACC play so far.
Final 80 seconds. 15-point lead, Bacon. Deflected, man collects, scores. The shot clock going off. Terrence Mann has 13. Knocked away. Bacon and Jones will battle for it. And last touched. It'll go to Duke with 58 seconds left.
Well, the Seminoles are having fun, no question about it. Bacon unable to finish, but Terrence Mann, right as the shot clock buzzer goes off, picks up the offensive rebound and adds to the second chance point total for the Noles.
The sellout crowd is on its feet in the final minute. Tatum a long 3. Got 21 tonight, does Jason Tatum. 14-point lead for Florida State. Isaac the lob. Jarquez Smith the finish. And a timeout with the lead back to 16.
Jonathan Isaac has not had his greatest game offensively, but you have to love the enthusiasm of the young man and how excited he is about the fact that his team is winning this game. We've talked about all the rookies in the ACC and 4 primary ones for Duke, but you see Isaac for Florida State coming out on top here today. And even though it hasn't been a special game offensively for him, his team having success, and it shows you a lot about this young man and what he cares most about.
Isaac delivering the goods to Smith. And Leonard Hamilton is going to sub out the 5 guys on the floor here. Walker will come onto the deck with Trent Forrest, Kamaji, PJ Savoy, and Brian Angola Rodas.
Now, I believe we just got a warning about storming the court.
They did. Announced it here in the crowd.
If I'm Florida State, I don't want to storm the court.
Nope.
Because you almost expected this. You want to be in a position where you feel like you expected this game, and there's no need to storm the court as if you weren't supposed to win this game or were upset.
Jones, the rebound of the Jackson miss. And Angola Rodas in the final 20 seconds. Florida State going to beat Duke here at home for the first time in 6 years. 12 straight wins for the Noles. They're 4-0 for the first time ever in the ACC. And tonight, Corey, it's convincing. 88-72 is the final. Rattan Mays finishes with 21. The Noles shoot 53%. Great to be with you tonight, my man.
Absolutely. We had a great time. ACC basketball at its best.
Next telecast is noon on Saturday. Virginia Clemson. You've been watching coverage of Atlantic Coast Conference basketball on the ACC Network, an exclusive production of Raycom Sports.